Hello, I am Wanderer001 and this is my review of the eufy Security Pan and Tilt 2K camera. It is called a pan tilt because one, you have panning that can happen and tilting, so you can look up and down, left and right, all with a single camera. One of the benefits, as I alluded to earlier with the eufy camera, is you get pet and person detection at no extra charge. Also, the eufy camera lets you have onboard storage or cloud storage. Your choice. Cloud storage you will have to pay for. Onboard storage, you can actually insert a micro SD card into the eufy camera to give yourself expanded storage for either continuous recording or the saving of video clips. The eufy pan tilt zoom camera here also has motion tracking, so not only can you manually move the camera, you can set it so that it'll track a target. And did I mention that you can actually get those video clips in 2K? Caveat, not if you're using HomeKit, sadly. Because there's a lot of features that the eufy pan cam can do here, there is a setup process, but if you've had any of the eufy products, you'll know that the setup process is not terrible for it, but we'll jump in and show you what the setup process for this camera was like. This will be set up for the eufy 2K pan tilt camera. First, you're going to open your eufy app, and then up in the upper left-hand corner where you see the hamburger button or the three lines, with the red dot in this case, you're going to click on that and then select My Devices. After you select your devices, you will see a listing of all of your devices. In this case, we're going to add a new device, so I'm going to select the plus sign here, and then we're going to find the type of camera that we want to add. In this case, here we go, Indoor Pan Tilt. Select that. Next, we have to plug in our device. So here we have the included micro USB cable. We will then plug it into the camera and then flip it around so that you can see that there is a light on the front. So we have to wait for this light to turn solid blue. Now right now it is purple and the camera's starting to spin around. There we go. And now it is solid blue. So we are going to select next. All right, we're going to have to scan a QR code on the bottom of this. So we're just going to hit that and then quickly scan this off camera. Once you do that, flip it around to the back and there is a setup button right here. So we select setup, which you have to press and hold until you hear a beep. And when it flashes, so we say, yes, I heard a beep, and then it's going to connect to the camera via Bluetooth. Now it wants me to pick a network to add it to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select my IoT network and quickly put in the password.
Connecting to the Wi-Fi network, please wait.
That's after I added it manually, and now it's connecting to the Wi-Fi network.
That was successful.
Next, device placement. You can figure out where you want it or you can customize. So right now it's listed as living room. That's probably where I'll keep it for now. I'll hit next. No micro SD card detected. So it will in fact feel very weird, but you do have to roll the camera lens up in order to get to where the micro SD card is. I was actually wondering that before I started the setup process, but didn't know. So just know you have to roll up the camera. Once you have your SD card, simply place it like it is depicted, like so. Clicking it into place. Now we can see that the SD card is there. You're going to select Format, Format Now. So if there was anything on the SD card, it will be erased after you format. And this shouldn't take terribly long to actually do because that is a brand new SD card. I put a 64 gig card in there. Almost done. It says it's 100%. We're going to click back. Micro SD card successful. We're going to hit next. And now it's just talking about placement as to where it's going to be, on a shelf, on a wall, on a ceiling. This will walk you through installation. I'm going to skip that because this is really just going to sit on a table. Here we have living room. I'm going to press play just to make sure that that's working and check the rotation. And that's all set. That was setup of the eufy Cam 2K resolution pan can tilt. As you saw, the actual setup process for the eufy camera, not terrible at all, especially if you've had one previously. So let's actually talk about the camera itself. You are actually looking at a very small camera for what you're getting. So this camera, as opposed to some of its competitors, can be placed in smaller locations and be less obtrusive. If we swing our camera around to the front here, this is actually our camera right here. You have IR lights on either side, so you have a total of 8 IR lights, 4 on either side, which have a range of 32 feet of projecting distance. You have a camera lens right here, which has a field of view of 360 horizontal and 96 degrees vertical, but also remember, it moves. So that field of view can change as you need it. Under our camera lens is actually our microphone. Coming down to the base here, we have our status light. This status light will help you during the setup process, as you saw. Well, if you want, the status light can remain on and it will be blue when it is active and not doing anything, red when it is either recording or somebody's looking through it, which is also a nice visual indicator that somebody is utilizing the camera in some way, shape, or form. It is also nice that that can be turned off if you wanted more of a stealth mode. Coming along to the side here, you have a speaker, which I'm not going to lie, is actually a pretty good speaker for the size of this. And if we come around to the back here, you have your micro USB power port and the setup button right there. And coming down to the bottom, you'll notice that you have some nice rubberized feety and a little groove in here that you can use to help mount this with the extras that come in the box, which we'll talk about in a moment. Because I want to address, well, I said that you could have a micro SD card in here. It's not integrated like it is with some of the other eufy products. Where is it? I didn't see it when I was doing the walk around. And let me tell you, when I first did this, it drove me nuts. It's actually hidden behind the rotating lens. So if you need to know where to put that, there you go. Just rotate your lens up and you will have access to your micro SD card. I had made mention of a mounting plate and a power cable, so let's take a quick look at some of the other things that you get in the box. You have your micro USB power cable here, which is 6.7 feet in length, and the beauty of it is, because it's not all one piece, if you wanted to, you can get yourself a larger length of cable and plug it into the power brick. For the amount of cable that they give you, I'll admit I have no problem with it. It's actually a very substantial amount of cable compared to some others that you might get with other competitors. Likewise, in the box you have a mounting bracket right here which will lock into place underneath your camera. You'll also notice that aside from the holes to mount this, you also have a screw hole right there which will allow you to mount this using a tripod bracket. One other thing that is included for mounting is actually a little difficult to see, but that is actually a mounting sticker that you can put where you want and drill your holes without having to try and work around this. So I appreciate this. The camera itself is only part of the package that you get with a eufy product. Yes, it can record, yes, you can move it around, but there's a lot of extras that you can do. Like I said, person detection, pet detection, zoning. All of that is actually done through the eufy app. So let's take a look at the eufy app as it pertains to the eufy pan, tilt, zoom camera. This will be the app portion for the eufy pan, tilt 2K. Here we can see it's actually located here on the bottom in my array of home devices. What you see here is a snapshot of the last thing that the camera took. Lower left hand corner you see a Wi-Fi indicator, the name, as well as in the lower right hand corner you see a number with a box around it and 3 dots. The box is actually the clips that it has taken, which actually brings you down to the events tab right here. And the clip is always going to focus on what triggered it. So in this case, there's a pet and there's a little pet icon right there. We'll come back to our devices because what we're going to do is press play right here. And that's going to bring up the live camera. Here we have our live feed of what is going on. There was a cat that is meandering right over there in real time. Here we have our expand button, so tapping this will bring it into a full screen mode. We're gonna select back to bring it back to our regular mode, and there you can see it's notifying me that there was a cat detected on screen. Now because this is a pan tilt camera, here we actually have controls that we can move the camera. And this goes up, down, left, right, although right now it's at its current maximum lower threshold, and it lets you know right there when that happens. Lower right hand corner we have an indication of the kilobyte speed of information that's happening. Right here we have a record button, so if we select record, it's letting you know that it will be adjusted based on the view quality. Those clips will be saved in 2K, however the video recording here is based on your connection speed. And then we hit stop for the recording and that will save it to our local album for this. Here we have a screenshot, which is a pair of scissors. Don't know why they chose that, but that takes a screenshot of what's going on. If I press and hold my speak button, right now my pets downstairs are hearing me talk, and you can see because of the waveform that you were seeing there. The pan camera has an interesting feature, which is a round look or 360, where if I press this, it will automatically start spinning. And because mine happens to be kind of on a pedestal by a wall, you're going to see some wall, and then you'll see some other things that kind of block its view there. You can see kind of like just junk, key bowl, and then it spins back around, although it did trigger the night vision, so that'll show you quickly the night vision automatically coming on. And then we'll give it a second because the night vision will turn itself off, just like you saw there. Here we have our sound in the lower right hand corner. I can mute that or turn that on if I want to hear what is going on in the video itself here. I neglected to mention that there is a up arrow, so you have to touch and drag that up in order to access the extra functionality. Now, it is a little tricky, as you saw. I did have to do it a few times in order for it to stick. But from here, we can access our event log. So selecting this will bring up our events. And here we go. Here's all the events that I have been doing while testing. And then we have to come back and drag that up again. And here we go. Drag and hold, and then it locks it into place. Here we have auto night vision on and off. So selecting that off, the IR lights will not turn on. Here we have an alarm, which if we tap, alarm will sound. And there you can hear that the pan tilt cam does have an alarm. It will take a few seconds for the application to send that information to the actual camera and then turn itself off. Moving on from the alarm, we have the tracking. If we select this, we can turn motion tracking on and off right from this area rather than having to go through those extra settings area. So it's just another quick way to do things, and tapping it will turn that off. And last but not least, over here, we have the calibration. Selecting this will tell the camera to calibrate itself. So it rolls it back just like it did the other location, and then we'll roll it forward and recenter itself. And here you can see kind of got a little bit of my table in place there, but that's because my cat, as you saw before, was messing with the camera, so its center point now slightly shift. But those are the extra menus right here, and you gotta drag and hold to pull up. One of the features of the pan tilt cam here is that, well, we were on the live feed. You can use a micro SD card in this camera to store video locally and keep it off of the cloud. And if you store it locally, you not only get clips, but you get full video. And here we are, we've gone back. So one of the great things that I like about eufy and their video recording here, notice that orange line? Well, if we bring our trigger to that orange line, that's going to indicate an event, and that event is going to be either a person or a pet. The blue line is just nothing has happened. Orange line indicates something has happened. We have our ability here, right there where it says 1, to speed this up. So we can actually speed up our video up to 16x. So that will really help make it easier to locate something. You do notice that right there, there's no orange slice yet, and that's because it does take a little bit for the algorithm to figure out that that was a person in the recording and then mark it. Now, if we pinch, and I bring this back this way, you can see there's several markers here indicating that there was pet activity. So pinching allows you to, and there you can see my cats kind of playing with each other. Pinching allows you to shrink the timeline down so you can move much faster, and then you have the ability to jump from day to day right there. This is another feature that I really like about eufy. You'll notice that these blank spaces or darker spaces are actually there because, well, I don't keep this camera on all the time. I only keep it on when I'm not around and I want to pay attention to what the cats are doing. And you'll always have an idea of the time. Right there, you can see it says it's 5:10. So if I bring this back to here, I know I saw the cat. So probably right about here is the one that I'm thinking of, where the cat was inspecting my camera as it was moving around because I wanted to make sure that I tested the motion sense of it. So it's locked on to the cat and it's panning around as she's playing with the camera. Now you can pause and skip and play just like you can with any other recording. I will state down here, when you're viewing a recording, you can download it, share it, donate it to eufy, delete it, or record. Now keep in mind the clips that you're gonna get from here, these are not the 2K clips. This is just the live recording to your SD card. The clips that are being talked about that are in 2K are going to be these video clips right here, which are generally shorter in length. However, I do like the fact that the length of time varies based on the movement that is captured during an event. I do kind of wish that they had a target around an event or a trigger. So in this case, my cats are triggering it. I wish there was a box or something around there letting me know, hey, this is why I went off. This is what triggered me. Those are our general options for the pan cam here. Now let's actually check out an in-depth look at our options by clicking the sprocket in the upper right-hand corner. This is one of the cool things that I like about the eufy pan tilt cam here, is that you can turn it off. And if you select to turn it off, the bulb actually rotates up so that the camera lens is hidden, and this way you know for sure it is not recording you in any way, shape, or form. There's also an LED indicator light on the front of it if you're worried about that, but that can be turned off in some of our options down here. Let's look at our motion detection. Well, we have turn that on or off. We can create active zones. So in this case, I don't have any active zones set up here, but if I wanted to, I create a plus sign. We can drag these sizing handles around, and it's an interesting octagon shape, so we can get very specific as to where we want things. And then eufy always lets you, let me rephrase that, most of the time will let you have 2 of these depending on your product. And then we'll hit there. And now we have 2 active zones. So this will tell me if anything walks into these zones, and we'll just delete our zones. If anything walked into those zones and only those zones, would it send me a notification? So that was our active zones. We can select what we want to send a message to us. So right now I have human, pet. If you want, you could have any motion. Right now, I keep it on just the medium sensitivity just so I can test it and see how well it does. It has done very well. I haven't really had any instances where it hasn't told me the cats were getting into something, but if you needed to, you can move that up to high. Down here, we have motion tracking. Turning that on or off, in this case on, will have the camera follow whatever it has seen moving. In the case of the cat that you saw before when they were right up in front of the camera, that was motion tracking when it was moving around. Now we have our sound detection. Sound detection, we can turn that on or off. And then here we have all sounds, crying, and then sensitivity. So this could be used as an impromptu baby camera after the fact, once you're done using it for home surveillance, or maybe you upgrade this from baby monitor to home surveillance when Junior is big enough to not have to worry about that. I'm gonna turn that off because I don't have any babies around to test that. We have our pan tilt settings here. We have our rotation speed and our pan calibration. So we can calibrate this very quickly and it will shift back up into its housing and then come back down. And now you have calibrated for its 0 point. Now you do have controls on the left-hand side there, and this is gonna be a little tricky to do around the camera. So let's show you, that's our 3 speed. And if we come here, that's our 5 speed. So you can see it definitely moves a little more when you increase the speed. So you can find the sweet spot for rotation speed for yourself and then just leave it at whatever you like. I left it at 3 because that worked out pretty well for me. Here we have pet commands. Now pet commands are another thing that I really like about eufy. If we turn this on, it allows for those active zones, especially if you're using this to monitor your pets. Well, if we turn that on and have an active zone, it'll let us know that it's going to turn a pet zone on. I'm just gonna throw that right there really quick and go back. And what this will do is if the pet walks into that area, you'll get an auto response, which you have a default one.
Hey, what are you doing there?
Which is a very synthesized voice, but you can create your own. And in this case, I did. So here we go.
Bro cat, get down from there.
You can edit this, either the title, or you can delete it, or you can create another one, continue. This is a test of the eufy pet command. And then you can play.
This is a test of the eufy pet command.
Save. And now I have 2 commands that if my pet walks into those active zones, I can choose from. So this is another really cool feature that I like about eufy, because this camera lives in my kitchen and yells at my cats when they're up on my stove or on the countertop. That is a godsend. It's really good. Does it work all the time? No, my cats tend to ignore it. The first couple of times, it definitely spooked them though. Coming down, we have our video settings. Selecting this, we'll have auto night vision on or off. We have our watermark logo, which you saw when we were doing the live feed. Stream quality, well, selecting this, you can have adaptive based on bandwidth, so depending on how your internet connection is, or you can select high quality all the time, medium quality, and low. And again, if you have data caps, you can consider going to a lower image quality. And here we go, record quality, 2K or full HD. If you do use the 2K, it will use up more bandwidth and take up more space on your SD card. And it notes right down here, in the live view page, videos will be recorded according to live view quality, not 2K resolution. Just keep that in mind in the back of your head. And then we have continuous recording. In my case, I use 24/7, or you can schedule when it will actually record. And then you can add rules. So from here to here, and then days of the week. Like I said, I like it recording 24/7, and then I manually turn the camera off when I want it. Here we have audio settings. So we have our microphone on or off, audio record on or off, speaker on or off, and then speaker volume. So obviously it is a two-way device that you can communicate through, so that does have all of those controls necessary for that. Notifications, well, I want to be notified of human, pet, all motions, crying baby, or all sounds. So you can select what you'd like. And then here we have our interval for notifications. Do you want to know every single time that something happens? Then you put 0, and it does notify you every single time. I have been swiping them away as I've been doing this review. If you don't want them quite as fast, you can select a time spanning the notifications being sent up to 5 minutes. Right here we have our mode switch notification. So switch modes by geofencing, I have that enabled. Content extension of notification. So what do you get when it notifies you? Most efficient means it's just going to send you text. Full effect is you get text and a thumbnail. Include thumbnail, which is get full notification, included text and thumbnail if available. This one works out pretty good. It sends me something, it lets me know somebody's there, and it shows me kind of what's there. It's been enough for me to know where my pets are. Here we have motion alerts. Bunch of different sounds that you can choose from. Not going to go through them all, but know that you have an option if you don't want to use your default phone's sound. Next we have general. We have the name. Selecting that will allow us to change the name. Here we have status LED light. This will allow you to turn off that blue light in front of the camera, which also turns to red when it detects motion, person, or pet. But you can stealth mode this if you wanted to. Here we have our storage. We have local storage. And right now I have a 62 gigabyte card in there. It has used 41 gigs, total 58 gigs, available 17 gigs. You can format from here, but that will wipe the entire SD card, so you only do that as the nuclear option if you're putting in a fresh one generally. You have the option for cloud storage. Right now, I could do a 30-day free trial. We're not gonna do that. We're just gonna let you know that that is an option that you could pay for, but is not needed with the eufy cams because they record locally to an SD card and don't charge you extra for that or for pet person detection. And then here we have our NAS and RTSP options. If you don't know what that is, probably shouldn't be playing with that, so I'm not gonna cover that. We have our Wi-Fi connection, so this is the Wi-Fi network that it's attached to. You can change it if necessary. Time settings will allow you to use your phone as the location based for the time. You could change that if you want. You have a mounting guide if you want to go through and figure out how to mount this realistically. I just plop it down. And then about this device, which has a lot of sensitive information about this device, so I'm not gonna bring that up. You have the ability to share this device. Keep in mind that if you share this device with somebody, they are going to need their own eufy account, but you can share it and then share your thoughts on the device. And last but not least, we have restart the device and remove the device. So that will either restart the device or remove the device from your eufy app. Coming back to our main eufy page, well, we have over here in the right-hand corner the three dots that I talked about before. Selecting this will bring up an option to either snooze your camera, which will snooze notifications that you get from your camera. Does not mean that it stops recording. Or we have an option for settings, which brings us to our settings page, which we were going through very thoroughly before. Just as we touched on before, down here we have our events. That's going to be any event that the camera captures. And that has been a look at the eufy 2K Pan Tilt Cam app. So besides all of the cool functionality that you get using the eufy app, something else that I like to pay attention to that a lot of other people don't think about is actually the motor noise. How does this sound when it's rotating, when the camera lens is moving? Because there are other competitors out there, you know when that camera's on and moving around. Again, if you're trying to use this a little more stealthily, how bad is the motor sounds for this eufy camera? So let me show you what that actually sounds like here. As you heard, remarkably quiet for what you get with this. One other thing that I mentioned before is the speaker along the side here. Well, how well does the speaker sound for something so small? Let me show you.
Audio test. Test 1, test 2, test 3. Sally sells seashells by the seashore. Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers. 1, 2, test, test, and test.
Sounds great. Lots of things that you can do in the application. Well, what about actual video samples, motion capture from this device? Well, if you use the snapshots or the triggers, those get saved as a 2K file. If you're just doing a recording from the camera itself, it is at whatever the variable bitrate or the video quality is at that time. Over there in the corner, I'll have some actual sample video as another video so that I can roll it in as 2K instead of trying to merge it with this 1080 video. What I will say with the motion tracking in particular, there's one feature that I wish it had. Actually, there are two features that I wish it had. One, motion tagging box so you know what was triggering the motion, and two, when you actually have it following somebody, there are other cameras out there that when it starts to follow a person that it detects as a person, the camera actually rotates up as the person gets closer so that you can see their face. The pan cam here didn't do that, sadly. One other thing that I noticed is if the camera in night mode hit a wall and the IR lights were on, they blasted it, it lost sight of everything, and rather than resetting itself, it just sat there and couldn't reestablish a target, mainly me, walking around. So if you have this close to a wall where the IR lights might hit, that might be something to consider. One thing I like to consider with all the smart home tech that I have in my house is actual power usage. Well, I'm happy to say that the eufy cam here, when idling, meaning the camera's rolled up and it's not doing anything except sitting there on your Wi-Fi, uses only 1 watt of power. If the eufy cam is actually active and looking to detect, it only uses 1.3 watts of power. At nighttime, when the IR lights are on, it uses 2.5 watts of power. Now, the next question, when rotating, how much power does it use? Because as you might imagine, having those motors running, even though they're really quiet, will add power usage. So during the daytime, that will up the power usage to 3 watts, which again is not terrible for what you're getting. All in all, I have actually been very surprised and very happy with the eufy pan and tilt 2K camera. It is priced aggressively versus its competition. Now, it might not be the cheapest pan tilt camera out there, but keep in mind with the ability to have local storage, person and pet detection for free, as well as its small form factor, you are getting great value for all of those features. Because of that, I highly recommend checking out the eufy pan and tilt 2K camera for yourself, especially if you're in the market for a pan and tilt camera that can do 2K. Again, sorry, not if you're on HomeKit. With that being said, I have been Wanderer001. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the area below. And as always, thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, consider giving it a like, as that will help other people find the video as well. If you like what I'm doing here, you can always help fuel the next review by buying me a coffee, link in the description below. Last but not least, if you want to be notified when I upload a new video, you know what to do.